Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. Okay. I've been banging out the AJ videos and I keep saying that this will be the last one I do, but I keep talking to other people and they keep asking me questions and they keep raising points that I think are worth considering. So here's another AJ video. What's this one about? Well, like I said, I've been talking to people and a lot of people have been saying, how do you think he should come back? Who should his next opponent be? Should he jump straight in at the deep end? Should he take it easy? Should he have 6 months off, a year off, 3 months off? Look, I can only give you my take on things, and I've been wrong before, so, you know, this is just my spiel. Tell me what you think in the comments below, but to me, Anthony Joshua is not at the same point, but it's a similar point that Wladimir Klitschko was when he had those two nasty back-to-back knockout defeats to Corey Sanders and Lemon Brewster. Because even though he went the distance twice with Usyk, we can't dismiss the Ruiz knockout, which I know was, what is it now, 4 years? 3-4 years? And I think when you look at his fights with Povetkin and Pulev, you could see some... Was Povetkin before Ruiz? I can't even remember. But certainly the one with Pulev, there were signs there that he looked to me like there was some sort of residue from the Andy Ruiz knockout. Certainly with the two defeats to Usyk, it will have taken away more of his already depleted confidence, to the point where he is now, in a sense, out in a psychological no man's land, where he's not, if he ever was very, very confident. I mean, sometimes we presume fighters are confident, extremely confident, especially early on in their careers when they're getting all these knockover jobs. But let's say that Joshua was an extremely confident man. He then bumped into Ruiz, got knocked out, fought very conservatively, very, oh, I'm going to hit you, but you're not going to hit me, you know, reticent in the rematch, won it clearly, didn't look great against Pulev, and then he's got the two defeats to Usyk. I would imagine that his confidence at the moment is very, very low. But it isn't just the confidence. It's, again, I get back to this thing. It's an identity thing, a fistic identity and identity as a man. Because if you live in a certain sort of almost a militaristic kind of a bubble where you're just living for one thing, in his case boxing, for 10 years, more than that, 12, 13 years, then inevitably, when you get taken out of that, when you start to lose, part of your identity goes missing. And of course your confidence is going to sink. It's going to be around the ankles. Because suddenly the thing that you have devoted all your time, all your energy, all your effort to, suddenly you're second guessing yourself. You're not winning. You're thinking, oh my God, you know, I've done all this stuff. I mean, how did I get knocked? You heard AJ after the second Usyk fight. How did you beat me? I don't think he was being arrogant. I don't think it was a narcissistic thing to say. I think he was genuinely thinking, you know, I did everything I was supposed to do and you still beat me. How? I don't get it. Now, of course, you can add in other factors like people, you know, blowing smoke up his arse or whispering things in his ear or tell him how wonderful he is. And of course, we're all human beings. We all, to some degree, want to be respected and loved and admired and all the rest of it. So yeah, that comes into it. But ultimately, they say the ring is the loneliest place on earth, which I've never been a pro fighter, but I imagine, yeah, it is, because all the plaudits, all the entourages, whoever your trainer is, however many people you've got stuffing up the corner, all that goes out the window once that bell goes. And AJ always seemed to me to be the type of person who needs people to tell him what to do. He isn't like a Muhammad Ali sort of fighter mentally, someone who can sort of change gears on the hop and instinctively knows what to do. Floyd Mayweather was another guy, he could do that. You know, he knew what to do. and he instinctively knew when to do it, and he was extremely confident in his abilities. And there have been loads of fighters like that, but AJ isn't one of them. I think he is at the point now, confidence-wise, where Wladimir Klitschko was after those 2 bad defeats. And what did Klitschko do? He hired Emanual Steward, and Emanual Steward eased him back slowly. Of course, Klitschko was a lot younger, I think, than AJ is now. AJ is nearly 33. But he eased him back slowly, rebuilt his confidence, taught him a style that protected a vulnerable chin, because Klitschko definitely had a very vulnerable chin. Placed that at the top of the agenda. There was no burying your head in the sand with regard to Klitschko's chin issue. So I think what Joshua needs is to do something similar. Now, I made a video previous to this where I said that I thought Peter Fury would be a good matchup for Joshua. A lot of people in the comments section said, that would never happen. You know what, I kind of agree with you. I wasn't saying that I thought it would happen. I was saying that I thought it would be a good matchup. Because Joshua needs a no-nonsense guy who's going to strip everything down, who's going to tell him when he's being a twat, who's going to point out what needs to be done, point out, you know, unashamedly what Joshua's weaknesses are, what he needs to work on, but at the same time can rebuild him psychologically. Much in the same way that Peter Fury did to Savannah Marshall, who always had confidence issues and didn't like the bright lights as an amateur and didn't achieve what she should have done. Now you look at her, very, very confident. She's flying high. She's got Clarissa Shields coming up. You know, she's fought in front of her Newcastle fans. Nothing got to her, you know, because she's prepared. She's been schooled mentally, psychologically, physically, in terms of technique. Joshua needs someone to do sort of what Manny Stewart did with Klitschko. And again, the comparison is not perfect. I don't say that it is, but it is worth making. Because the common denominator is the confidence level. Joshua's confidence level is very low. In fact, it was low, very, very low after the first fight, the first Usyk fight. It's probably low after, well, yeah, I think it was badly dented after the first Ruiz fight. But certainly, if you look at Joshua's interviews after the first Usyk fight, I mean, that again, I get back to that infamous IFL TV interview he gave where he was talking like a 15-year-old. He was so obviously trying to cover up his doubts, his fears, his confusion regarding being beaten again. You know, with all this crap talk about the sort of thing a 14 or 15-year-old would come out with. What a tough guy he is, how he looks up to all the gangsters, all this bullshit, all this shit that kids come out with. And it's embarrassing to watch. I cringed more with that video. That interview made me cringe more than watching AJ after the second Usyk fight when he grabbed the mic. And it seems to me that he was having an identity crisis. Most of this game is up here. You know, once you get yourself physically fit, fighting fit, you're at your optimum weight, you've learned techniques, everything, the whole thing becomes a mental thing. It's down to the individual's psyche. And Joshua's is severely fractured, severely fractured. So I would say he needs to go away with a trainer, I would say for 6 months, do some proper training, because don't forget, he's only had one fight with Garcia. If he wants to stick with Garcia, he'd probably have to go to America, and I'm not sure about AJ going to America. I think I don't think he should be comfortable, but I think you do need a comfortable environment. That is, what do I mean by that? I think going to America might damage him even more, because he seems to be the type of person who likes. I've got to be careful what I say. Home. When I say home comforts, I mean an environment that's a base to work from that fills him with confidence, where he can get most of his work done. And I think if he went to America, he wouldn't feel that he had that base. He'd feel even more at sea than he does now. Now that's not to say that he should ever feel comfortable in the gym. He should again, no sticking your head in the ground, no sweeping things under the carpet. But at the same time, you have to have the correct base to work from. And I'm not convinced going to America would do him any good psychologically. I think it would be better if he stayed in Britain with who? I mean, this is a big question. I've said Peter Fury. A lot of you said it. That would never happen. He's trained Huey and he's Tyson's uncle. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it. But if not him, then who? Once he finds the correct trainer, which again could take some time, it's got to be the correct guy. He needs to take a few fights that are lesser fights against tough journeymen. Jerry Forrest, maybe. I mean, you know, 2 or 3 of those against good quality journeymen, guys who are going to give you rounds but let you build your confidence up. Then you move on to the second tier heavyweights, whoever they may be at the time, because time will have passed by. A few of them will have been knocked off. Some of them might have retired, you never know. Then you move on to people who are sort of 5 to 10 in the top 10. I mean, sane people's top 10. I'm not talking about the top 10s of the ruling bodies, because most of those are ridiculous. But so, you know, maybe, I don't know, someone who poses a risk, but not too much of a risk. I wouldn't put him in with anyone who's got some firepower, not for another 4 or 5 fights. This is all reliant on whether Joshua wants to carry on. Let's assume he does. But I wouldn't put him anywhere near anyone who's... Because he's going to have to practice on his defence. He's going to have to... Just as Steward taught Klitschko about preserving his chin, I think the same thing has to be done with Joshua. I think he needs to work on his stamina. So 2, 3 fights against C+, B- level fighters who can take him the 10 rounds or even 12 rounds for one of those crappy little trinket belts. That would, you know, give him more confidence regarding his stamina. And I think then you can move back up into true world level, into the top 5. Has he got the time to do it? Like I say, he's nearly 33. If he wants to, yeah. He could have another 5 years in the game if he wants it. And you know what? Even if he does all this, maybe he won't be the best heavyweight in the world. Maybe if he was, you know, in 3 years' time to fight Tyson Fury, if Tyson Fury's still around, Fury might knock him out. You just don't know. Usyk might beat him again. Usyk might beat Fury. Someone might come along, you know, like, I don't know, Frank Sanchez or Jared Anderson or someone. They might be the man. You just never know. It's heavyweight boxing. Well, it's in all boxing, not just heavyweight boxing. You get these sort of X factors that come in. These you know, dark horses sort of come galloping in without you noticing. But if AJ wants to maximise his potential, and when he gets to the end of his career, look over his shoulder and say, you know what, I gave it everything. There were some big bumps in the road, but I gave it absolutely everything. And yeah, I can be at peace with myself. If he wants to do that, he's got to, I won't say start again, because you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But he's got to knuckle down, face his demons, work on them. Again, this is climbing a mountain. And the one thing you never, ever do, you never do 2 things if you're climbing a mountain. You never try to run up it because you're a fool. You obviously take your time, pace yourself. And you never look at the top. You never look up at the summit because you can't even see the summit. You might think, how am I going to climb that? I mean, look, it's just too high. I'll never do that. So what you do is you look at the few feet in front of you. You climb a little bit. You sit down if you need a rest. You climb a bit more. You sit down if you need a rest. And so on and so on and so on until eventually you get to the summit without even realising. That's what he's got to do, I think, with the right trainer. Don't put a time limit on it. Don't worry what anyone else is saying. All that social media crap, all that Twitter shit. Get rid of all that stuff. Shovel it up and use it to manure a field, because that's all it's worth. Social media crap. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Just come off it. Be yourself. Be your own man. Discover yourself. You know, rediscover yourself. Discover your own identity. Do it in your own time. And do it slowly. Don't jump in at the deep end again. Well, you tried that. You lost to Ruiz. You jumped in with Ruiz. You beat him because he was a fucking fat slob, wasn't he? He hadn't been living the life. With Usyk, you fought a great champion twice. And you went 24 rounds with him. No shame in that at all. Do it sensibly now. Start again. Build yourself up. You might just get to the top of that mountain. Depends. But if you don't, if you're just a little bit off the summit and you've done everything you possibly can, good. You know, you maximise your talent. He's already a 2-time world champ, for Christ's sake. He's got hundreds of million, or a couple of 100 million or whatever it is. He ain't going to starve, you know. But peace of mind, finding your own identity, achieving your ambitions, realising your potential. These are the things that we all as human beings look for in life. And if Joshua wants to do that, I think it's time to, you know, cut all the bullshit out. So those are my thoughts. What do you think? Another anti-Joshua video? Sorry. No, I'm not really sorry. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. As always, spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. If you know people who like watching boxing stuff on YouTube, tell them. Get them to subscribe, like, do all that double jab stuff. Always good to speak to you. We shall speak again. In the meantime, take care. Have a good week ahead. Bye-bye for now.